Ever since the COVID apocalypse, my Patreon has been sagging like witch titties. So if you like mad science or just want to enable a madman and see what happens, consider subbing to my Patreon. Or don't if you're having trouble, like a lot of people are. We're just now climbing out of this COVID slump. If you need those dollars more than I do, then keep them, by all means. I hate asking like this, and I know you hate listening to it, but metrics show this kind of lame shit actually works. You know, where they ask you to like and subscribe. Apparently that's really effective, so here we are. If by any chance you've not seen the Instagram account, Portland Looks Like Shit, be advised that where I live is currently turned mostly into Death Stranding. Rains all the time, the vehicles are electric. There are huge tent encampments of porch pirates. They take their stolen packages back to apocalyptic weather, normalized male pregnancy. It's not great. Shit's on fire. So it may make sense why I increasingly refuse to engage with industrial society except from inside of a well-provisioned escape pod, which is what I'm turning my car into. For that and many other reasons, I have added a power outlet to my car. You've already seen the full extent of what it's really possible to do off of the 180 watts you can pull from the 12-volt system through the cigarette lighter ports, or even the 300 watts possible to pull from the Jackery. Not nearly as much as you can do with 1500 watts, which is what I can pull from the new outlet. Let's look at that now. Alright, so this is what I got. This is what I got to work with. And these cables go to the battery terminals, which are here and here, plus and minus, under those little plastic doors. The power cables for plugging 110 volt appliances into the inverter and the wire for the remote control have to go up this way into this little pocket here. There's an identical one over here. It's covered. I've removed the cover from the left side one because I need to Dremel into it to mount the remote control panel, which turns the inverter on and off, so I don't have to dig everything out of the trunk every time I want to activate or deactivate it. And I don't want to leave it activated because this runs off the 12 volt battery, which is fine as long as the car is turned on and constantly recharging that from the lithium battery, but not if it isn't. And I don't want to have to empty the entire trunk, including the wood-backed cushions, every time. So this should be quite convenient. The only problem is, I don't know if you can see, this doesn't quite go flat. It's like half an inch too tall. It's close enough. It's just going to bug me. Maybe if the plastic under this, like the tray, this part, if I remove that, then I'll make more room. I don't know if that's a good idea, or if I can cut into it. Also don't know if that's a good idea. There's this little mounting bracket down here that is separate. If I can get a triangle head screwdriver, I can remove that, and that might give me the extra half inch or so I need, giggity, to have that be flush, so this will close properly. But that's how it came, and that's the start of this project. I didn't know this would be so honking big. It's 2,000 watts, even though I'm never going to draw more than 1,500 watts from this thing, because I was advised to over-spec the inverter if it's going to be running in an enclosed space, so it doesn't overheat. So that it's designed for higher spec and higher current than I'm actually going to subject it to. And when I looked on Amazon for the 1,500 watt version of this inverter from the same company, it was almost the same size. So there isn't really a reason to get the smaller one. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to at least connect it to the terminals and make sure it turns on. Alright, I got the back plate off, which had these flanges stick up and add another centimeter or so to the height. It mostly closes now. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have this exposed. I might make a flat acrylic sheet and drill some holes and screw it back into place just to have that covered. It seems like it should be fine. I tried prying this to unbend these. That just basically ruins it, so I can't return it if I need to, but I don't think I'm gonna. This is really the only one on Amazon at a decent price that has all the features I need, including the remote. So I'm intent on keeping this. I didn't anticipate it to be this fucking huge. It's huge. I think it'll be fine. If anyone in the comments wants to tell me that this is a death trap that is going to start a fire, please let me know and what to do about it. Next up is to drill the hole for the cables to attach to the battery terminals. There's the hole. It's going to hurt the resale value of the car. I never planned to resell it though. So that's not really an issue. I need to Dremel it out now. Hang on. Okay, I had to do a lot of Dremeling I didn't want to. Some pretty severe modifications to the terminal case above and below, just so the cable will go in. Doesn't really stay now. I think I can fix that with some zip ties. It's good enough though. Important thing now is to tighten this and secure the positive terminal. Where I wanted to? Yes, it does. I can always Dremel this out lower. I don't think that's an issue though. There we go. I think as long as maybe if I use a heat gun on this. Hang on. That's it, job done. This one was weird to do. I don't know if you can tell, that nut and this nut are different sizes. GM, why would you do this? This also is a mechanism, it doubles as a mechanism for tightening this onto the battery terminal. So as I was unscrewing it, the whole thing came loose. It was very fiddly and unpleasant. It's finished now. That one doesn't... I also had to Dremel a little bit more than I wanted to, just to get the tool in there. That was a fun time. Dremeled more than I wanted to overall, in general. But, thinking I'm probably going to sell this to my dad if I ever sell it, and he'll think this is cool. And probably anyone I would sell this to would regard all this as an improvement. I would. Okay, it doesn't lay totally flat. I think I can put some foam under the other side to balance it out if I'm really concerned with symmetry. This is gross. I need to vacuum this, but this vacuum isn't really worth shit. Doesn't even pick that up. I don't know what the issue is. If you know a good car vacuum that has a beater bar, let me know. I have need of it. Anyway, this is the panel that goes here. I'm going to Dremel holes in it for this, which is the power on-off switch for the inverter, which is a crucial feature to have because you can't leave it running or it'll drain the lead-acid battery when the car's turned off. And it hooks up to here. This cable goes to the inverter. I'm going to snip this because this has to connect to these terminals on this, and I'm going to cut a hole somewhere in here. I think I'm going to put this here, higher up, and then I'm going to put this next to it. I don't know if I'm going to put this on. This doesn't really do anything. It's just visually nicer. It would also require me to space them out more. I made sure to get one with the USB plugs just for convenience. There are versions of this that people 3D print that look like it was designed to have all the shit in it. It has like a volt logo on it. It says 110 volt, you know, it has all the electrical information on it. I couldn't work out how to do that. I think I have to print it in parts because my printing bed is not that big. I might still do that. If I mess this up, this is a replaceable part. This is a common car. This is one of the reasons I bought it is it's based on the Chevy Cruze platform, so even though the Volt is discontinued, you can still get plenty of parts for it. Even if they were out of the backlog of parts for the Volt, which they're not. They're required to have many years of backlog parts for that, but it won't be difficult to get another one of these if I mess it up. I don't think I'm going to mess it up. It's pretty simple. You just got to drill some holes, Dremel a rectangle, and I already fucked up. Get the correct diameter screws, drill holes for those, mount it securely in such a way that nothing physically conflicts or touches metal back here. Hook it up to this, and there you go. I should have a 2000 watt, although I'm max 1500 for the sake of the lead acid battery, power outlet in my car that will run any home appliance. One more thing. I didn't actually test this. Yep. Because you can't do it accidentally. That works. Inverter's receiving power. Another Home Depot trip, got the 2 different sizes of screw and bolt. Of course, they couldn't use the same one. Needed to mount this guy and this guy in plastic. I made sure that the length was correct, by which I mean I eyeballed it. If it's not long enough, I can come back and trade these in, I guess. As well as the drill bit I don't have that is correct for the smaller one, and I can just wiggle it around to make the slightly larger hole needed for the power outlet. I think I'm good. And there we go. Not my cleanest dremmeling job. It's a little too wide around here. I don't really care that much. Securely fastened from the rear. Next up, I need to make the hole for this guy in exactly the same way. I think sticking right through here, immediately next to the power outlet. And with any luck, that fits the way I expect it to in the little trunk side pocket. Whew. Okay, they're both mounted a little bit irregularly, but then I'm a little bit irregular. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to go and buy another panel and redo it just because they're not perfectly parallel, even though it does honestly bother me. I was worried that these screws wouldn't be long enough, but they're just exactly long enough. I'm thankful for that. I didn't want to have to make another trip to Home Depot. But anyways, it's very snug. Everything's close together. Everything's, I think, how it should be. I need the fork crimps to attach the power cable to these 2 terminals, and the crimping tool, which are both coming in the mail, I think, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, and then I can finally finish up this project. Although I haven't really figured out yet how the cable for the switch and this are going to go from the trunk underfloor area into the side panel area. I may need to do a little bit more drilling and dremeling. We're in the home stretch, though. There it is in place. I slipped with the Dremel here. It's really frustrating. It would have been blemish free otherwise. It's just going to look a little bit crappy, but it'll work. Everything's hooked up except for the power to that. I need a crimping tool and crimping forks for that. I talked about that already. You can see what it looks like with the inverter turned on. I'm not going to leave it on. I don't want parasitic losses to my starter battery. Other than that, I think we're really close to the completion of the project. What I need to do is figure out how I'm going to get this cable and the power cable into this compartment in an acceptable way. I think I might actually Dremel or drill a hole here and one here and try to pass them through the frame of the car, the plastic part anyway. The alternative is just have them going up through here and Dremel a little mouse hole in the panel, but I don't want to do that. That would be ugly. If it's possible at all to pass them through the plastic, I'd rather do that instead. I'll have to see what other people have done on the same project. I didn't record me actually doing this because I lost my tripod temporarily. That thing always turns up eventually. I bought a crimper. I bought crimping forks, which I did not use on the plugs for the MegaHab heaters, which might explain why I'm constantly having to open up the plug, trim off a little bit of wire, and reconnect them. I think those are not correct connections, and I should have done it to code. I'm doing this one to code because there's a lot more wattage. There's a lot more potential for a fire or something. This could furnish a solution for the ongoing problems keeping those heaters running too. Anyway, I used the crimping forks to attach to the wires, which are the ends of this extension cord, which will go to the inverter, and that's positive, negative, and ground. They don't call it that for alternating current. It's a hot wire, a neutral return wire, and a ground. Everything is hooked up how it's supposed to be. I did color coding just so I could tell them apart more easily. I guess I didn't really need to do that. The wires were already color coded. Who knows why I do anything. I do think I'm going to return the GN Dell modified sine wave inverter though and buy a more expensive Renogy pure sine wave inverter of the same wattage. It's almost twice as costly, but I want to not have to worry about what I plug into the outlet. I want it to be as good as a wall outlet at home. Also, I can't really use variable speed electric motor based power tools off of a modified sine wave inverter, which is kind of a deal breaker. I wish I had known that before I bought this thing. Anyway, I've got the Amazon return ball rolling. I put in an order for a lightly used 2000 watt pure sine wave inverter. Everything should be sorted out. I'm pretty sure they use the exact same cable. So this I got a replacement for this since I already carved the hole for it. I'm going to be sending this one back. This should still be fine. This should work as the control panel. If not, I'll just get a replacement one of these and cut the holes again. These are actually not expensive. Volt parts are not expensive because it shares almost everything with the Chevy Cruze, a very popular model. Alright, I upgraded to a pure sine wave inverter after all, for a bunch of reasons, which I've mostly already gone over. I got it used but in good condition, whatever that means, for $250. I think more like 246 or 256. What? No, it was 200. It was almost 260. Still a pretty good deal. Renogy is a well-regarded brand. I know a lot of van lifers who use Renogy. I don't anticipate any problems. I'm just taking off these little mounting brackets because they add a little bit of vertical space. This giant slab of steel, which probably still won't fit under there. I might have to unscrew this whole tub and see if there's any space underneath it. Maybe in here. Maybe I can cut a profile out of here and like slide it in or something. We'll see. So it turns out that the remote that came with this inverter uses a different type of plug than the one that came with the other inverter, which I bought a spare controller for just because I had already cut the hole. So I'm going to send this one back. I think the dimensions are similar enough that I can just lengthen this hole vertically, and that this wide lip around the edge should cover any cosmetic stuff like the holes for these screws, which I'm not going to use after all, it seems. Not a big deal. Alright, after a shitload of dremeling, feet reveal by the way, don't get lewd in the comments, I have successfully mounted the replacement Renogy remote power auto switch. It wasn't too much of a hassle. I just had to dremel outwards in order to get rid of the old holes the screws went through. Luckily this thing was larger than the last switch. If it had been smaller, it would have been considerably more complicated to correct the size of the hole. Everything looks pretty conveniently sized now. It's sideways, but it was going to have to be. There wasn't really going to be space for it horizontally in the first place. It looks actually more parallel and better aligned than the old one, if anything. I'm quite pleased with it. Fuck yeah. Alright, it's fully hooked up. If anything, it's a cleaner installed than the last one. This one is a little bit taller, so that again doesn't come down all the way. But the cords just go through here because I don't want to drill into the frame of the car. Moment of truth though. Inverter's on, switch is on. All that remains is to test 2 loads. Usually I'm capable of 7 or 8 loads, but I had some energy drinks earlier today. I mean, start out with something relatively meager like this UPS, just to see if it turns on. Hard to see. Is there plastic in here I needed to remove and didn't? Better not. Oh, no, it goes in. Yep, that turns on. That's receiving power. This lights up too. I should have noticed that. So that's a go. Oops, this comes off rather easily. That works. Now to test a 1500 watt load. Little cat, what are you doing out here? Come here to take part in the test? Actually, I should get a fire extinguisher for this. Hang on. Okay, now I've got the full-size extinguisher. I've got a little aerosol-sized one, but I don't like to skimp on safety. You know what Ham Dad says about safety, Hamsterinos? If you skimp on safety, you go to hell before you die. Now let's, that's my original catchphrase. I patented that, don't steal. Plug this into, is that the right way around? I don't believe it is. To here. It appears to recognize it. It's charging. USB port's good. At least one of them is. Try the other one. Both USB ports are good. I have the car on for this because you're never supposed to run the inverter with the car off. Meow, 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 come here. Come here, you little shit. When it's on, the lithium high voltage battery is constantly charging the 12 volt battery, and it has a very powerful step down high voltage to low voltage converter that can keep up with the 1500 watts of use maximum. That's 1200 watts in the Gen 2, which is actually one of the ways in which that car is a step down despite being an upgrade in most respects. But anyway, enough flapping my gums. Wow, these are tough outlets. I wonder what the deal with that is. I wonder if there's something I need to pull out of there. Oh, it's got little safety things. There we go. We're gonna boil some water. I mean, technically you could run it with the car off. It's just it would be draining the lead acid starter battery. And then you strand yourself. And not like Death Stranding, just like being stuck in the woods and getting your poop hole plundered by hillbillies. It's oh, it's on. If this is too much, it's going to blow one of the fuses or the breaker or whatever. It shouldn't. The car has 2,000 watts available total. 350 to 500 are being consumed all the time by the infotainment system and other amenities, depending on what you're using. The remainder is reserved for AC or heat. But if you don't have those on, then there's about 1,500 watts in the Gen 1 available for other uses. Meow meow. Come here, you little chicken nugget. Say hi to the fans. Go on. Or you don't want to? Fine, be that way. Is it boiling? This will be the first time I boiled water off of car power. This was an expensive ass inverter, but my reasoning went like a Jackery that has the same wattage output is like $1,000. And I already have a giant battery that I can transport by a car. I couldn't actually carry a battery this size and weight. I can drive it around though, and if I just buy something way cheaper than the Jackery that lets me get at that power, it's fucking boiling alright. That's amazing. And this is 16 kilowatt hours, of which 11.5 or so, I believe, are accessible. That is so dramatically greater than the 2 kilowatt hours or so that the top of the line Jackery gives you, or even the 4 to 5 kilowatt hours of like an i4-way or one of those other giant Chinese portable power stations. It just dwarfs it. There's no reason not to go this way if you want to just have the biggest power bank possible. And also a car. This is low-key blowing my mind right now. Honestly, the fact that the floor doesn't go all the way down is a feature, not a bug, because it lets air be exchanged. Lets cool air get in and hot air get out. Although there are now holes into the rest of the vehicle, or there were before, but now there's more thanks to me and my overzealous dremeling for air exchange to occur. This is cool. I never could have dreamed of this with the 180 watts or so available from the 12 volt system normally through the cigarette lighters, or even the 300 watts available from the Jackery, which can at most run that little tiny thermos that you saw, which boils water in about 6 minutes, but it's a very small quantity. I may still get use out of that if I'm using my Jackery in like a tent away from the car or something, but then again, oh, there comes the steam. I don't want to spill this. I don't need to bring it all the way to boil, I feel. I mean, it's basically just ceremonial at this point. I really don't want to spill that, so there you have it. 1500 watts with which I can boil water. I can have hot showers. I'm going to buy a 2.5 gallon desktop water heater that's intended for outdoor sinks shortly. That's about 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. It'll just stash in the back seat here on top of the cushions. What else? A small microwave if I wanted to. That would really be kind of making a mockery of the concept of camping, though. It'd be nice to have. It's just kind of bulky when I have so many other ways of cooking stuff already. A clothes washer. They make little dishwashers too, that are sized for just 2 people's dishes at a time, for RVs. That are also 15. There's a lot of appliances that are designed to max out a household power outlet, which is about 1500 watts continuous with 1800 watts peak, and that's what this does. So this opens up a whole new world of devices that I can run off of my car anywhere that my car can get to, which is anywhere with roads. It's not, sadly, it's not really capable of off-roading. If I want to spend a couple grand, I could have it lifted and put bigger tires on it or something, bigger wheels rather. I don't really think that makes much sense to do for a plug-in hybrid. I can get to plenty of good off-site camping spots just with the vehicle as is, despite the pitifully low clearance. Yeah, there you have it. It's boiling now, boiling water off of car power. Amazing. Here I am charging the scooter from the trunk outlet. I sold this to a buddy, but we lend it back and forth sometimes. Proof of concept, you can carry an entire second electric vehicle inside your larger electric vehicle and charge it from the, it's like a parasite. Then you have a last mile solution when you get where you're going. I don't have the cushions in here. One thing I discovered, unfortunately, is that the cushions, when they're stacked up, are just at the right height to nudge the on-off switch. So when I'm not using this, I ultimately have to turn off the inverter manually anyhow, just to make sure it doesn't accidentally get turned on without my knowledge and drain the starter battery. That sucks. I don't know what a good solution for that is going to look like. Maybe some kind of plastic cover for this that I can 3D print and screw on, and then I don't know yet. I'll have to look at what my options are. That's all for this time. I hope you get a lot of use out of the documentation I've just filmed. I hope to get a lot of use out of that outlet in the event that the situation deteriorates to the point that I have to get away from population centers. Or I'll just be the mother of all loot drops for one very lucky bandit who is better armed than I am. It could be you. Hey, wouldn't that be something?